Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Vercel Community Live session. My name is Pauline, and I'm joined here with Jacob from the Vercel community team. You may have actually seen our avatars floating around in the community. So I love to do this because it's always fun to have time to interact with you all in a more synchronous way like this. So we're actually streaming this live out to X and YouTube. But if you want to participate in our chat, join our community platform, which is on community.vercel.com, and click going on this event page, and that will unlock the chat. Throughout the session, we'll also be doing some Q&A. So feel free to drop any questions you have along the way. To start, definitely tell us where you're tuning in from and what you're hoping to learn from this session.
Yeah, if you're going to hang out in the chat, please remember to be respectful and follow our code of conduct. And with that out of the way, I'd love to introduce our two guests today. We have Walter Corman and Harpreet Agora from the AI Gateway product team.
Hi, guys. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Drinking my coffee.
Amazing.
Hey there, I'm
We're just talking about coffee.
joining you all from the Vercel San Francisco headquarters office. So you never know, G may charge by in the background. So keep a watchful eye. But yeah, it's great to see you all.
Amazing. We'll leave it over to you then. But yeah, excited to have you here.
Excellent. All right. I want to talk through why we built the Vercel AI Gateway first, and then we'll do a couple of demos, including a really amazing demo that Walter has conceived that went really well in the company. And then we'll have time at the end for questions and answers, and also through the chat. So with that, let me just start off with the vision, right? Hopefully you're all familiar with the AI SDK. If you're not, it's our open source SDK for building AI apps and agents in TypeScript, right? And it has become the de facto library that people use to build AI apps. One of the things that we pride ourselves at Vercel about is just the developer experience, right? So when you use any SDK or any app from Vercel, you just experience really high taste and good developer experience. If you are using AI SDK, you still will, and you are using multiple AI models, you still want that simplicity of switching models, right? So that's like one pain point that we always heard about. The other pain point we heard about is, well, I run into rate limits very frequently. You guys have experience building V0. Like, can you help me with that, right? And we, of course, can. And then the third thing is, well, there's a lot of the providers that go down from time to time. Maybe you can do smart routing, because Vercel's DNA, aside from really good developer experience, is also quality infrastructure, right? We're known for really high uptimes and just our framework-defined infrastructure approach. So with all of that, we decided, well, Vercel AI Gateway is the perfect place to solve all these problems. And we were excited that it's in beta, and it's going to come out of beta in a couple of weeks. So hopefully all of you can try it now and after it comes out of beta as well. So those are like the key things that made us build Vercel AI Gateway. I'll show you a little bit of the logged in experience, a couple of demos, and we'll go through the docs as well. So that being said, Walter, anything you want to add here before I
just excited to build it on top of the AI SDK v5, which is also heading to general availability. It's been in alpha and beta for some time, along with AI Gateway. These are very much sort of like designed in partnership, right? There are a lot of really breakthrough achievements, things added to SDK v5, and Gateway is an additive product on top of it. But designed soup to nuts, sort of to work in close tandem with its power. So yeah, excited. If you haven't yet tried SDK v5 beta, now is a great time. it is in the final run up to GA.
Amazing. All right. So when you go to Vercel AI Gateway and you log in, you go to the tab, you see this, right? Like you kind of see how to use it in code. We have our different model list, and you can search through any model. So we had ZAI launch this week, along with Qwen 3 Coder, as well as Kimi and some of the other major providers out there, right? So you have 100+ models. You can set up an API key. You can bring your own API key if you have one with these providers. And then there's our Vercel AI playground and templates and the documentation as well. The other amazing part that Vercel AI Gateway just gives you, that we've heard also from customers in beta and before beta, was, well, when I have multiple providers and multiple API keys, I don't really have a way to track the usage. And I would love to simplify that and like get a unified view, right? So this is my account, but you can't see, I haven't created any large queries, which is why you can't see a bunch of usage here. But if you were to go into this, into observability, and you see all of my environments, you can see that I've been running a few queries with my test key, and that pops up. If you go into specific projects, if you had one, you can get more details as well, right? So that's just like a high level, and that's built into Vercel AI Gateway, which is like a really nice thing. Comes right out of the box. In terms of usage, right, you can, there's two ways to use it. One is you use it through the AI SDK. We also built an OpenAI compat endpoint. So if you are using the OpenAI library, you can just plug in the API key from here into your OpenAI code, and it should just work seamlessly, right? So for the purposes of this discussion, we're going to focus on the AI SDK experience, but the others should follow similarly. With the AI SDK, there's a couple ways to go about it, right? If you're interested, you can just clone this repo. And I'm going to talk about this. We built this repo that you can all just clone and start working off of, right? And I already cloned this because I didn't want to have everyone waiting. But if you go to the terminal and you clone this, you will then, and you run VC deploy, you will get this app, right? So I've already pre-built this. And you can type in anything in here. Let's say, who are you? And you'll see it's like Grok 3 beta, right? But you'll see, well, there's only like a few models in here, and I want to add a bunch of more models. Well, let's actually use Claude Code, because why not? So I go in here and I tell Claude Code, let's add XAI, Grok 4, and Claude, Anthropic Claude. Can't type.
Missing a K on the Grok.
Great. Amazing.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you, Walter. Appreciate it.
4 eyes. Better than 2.
The model library. Okay. Boom. While this builds up, actually, it's actually doing it relatively fast. But this is going to add the 2 models that are already supported in the hundreds of models that I showed you, and hopefully create a new deployment, right? And if it doesn't, that's fine too. Cool. Make a new deployment.
And just while he's doing this, you can run npm dev. You can iterate locally, sort of like normal hot reload, like a second or less to iterate. It's kind of more satisfying, perhaps, for this demo to sort of show it actually out running live. You could share this link with your friends, that kind of a thing.
Exactly.
And Vercel makes all of these things pretty fast and easy. So
do you, Walter, while this is running, do you want to talk about the magic of OIDC?
Sure. Yeah. So AI Gateway, and this is covered in detail in the docs, has 2 different ways that you can authenticate. If you have your code repo and you link it, or you've deployed it to a project on Vercel, All projects in Vercel have what's called an OIDC token. It's effectively an auth token that's associated with them. And that can sort of transparently be your authentication. So if you have the Vercel CLI, which most developers do if you're deploying to Vercel, you can run vcn pull, and it will pull your OIDC token locally. And that's your auth. So you don't need to go get an API key. You don't need to set it in your envars. You don't need to do anything. That's your auth. You can do PNPM dev. You can make gateway queries locally when you deploy. You don't need to set an envar in your deployment. It's just magically there. It's part of your project. You're auth, and that will, like relate to your account. Will show in the observability that Harpreet was showing. We do also support, and again, it's in the docs, getting a sort of a classic API key flow. It's a persistent, auth key string. You can put in your envars. You would name it, the AI _ gateway _ API key, and then that's persistent. And you can use that if you're running, projects that aren't on Vercel. You can use that if you're doing local toolchain development, ML data ops, something where you're like, well, I'm not really deploying a project. If there's no project, but I still want to be able to use AI Gateway, you can use that API key to do the auth. So both of them work. OIDC is nice because it's sort of magic and transparent. Your thing just works on deployment. You don't need to set an API key. You pull it locally, and you can do local dev. Locally, that key expires every 12 hours, so you would need to rerun and pull. I think Harpreet maybe is ready to show us his next excitement.
Yeah,
here.
Exactly. So while Walter was talking about the magic of OIDC, I vibe coded a couple of more models in here, so you can see Claude 4 Sonnet, which is what I added here, and Grok 4 have been added to this chatbot. I always like to ask this question just because I get fun answers from the models. Of course, this is a demo, and it's not going to work right now, but
sometimes Grok 4
it
takes
there you
extra
go.
long thinking.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
He's just making it up. No.
Yeah, well, the upside is you can have higher confidence the answer is correct because it clearly spent longer thinking about it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, it just is like, what? Grok 4 really tries to trip you up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's like one way to go about it, right? The other way to use this is with the API key. So here what we saw is the OIDC token. You can also use it via the API key. So let's say you have an app locally with the AI SDK. You have a environment variable file. You can go to the Vercel AI Gateway dashboard, create a new API key, copy it in your environment variables, and then I'm not going to show it because I have my own API key in there. But if you put it in the file, it should work, right? So let's
click it.
Let's start. So it just like works out of the box, right? And you can change any model in here. So let's say Claude 4 Sonnet, and I do again. It just works, right? It's just magic. And that's what we try to bring with the Vercel AI Gateway. You can swap any models. You're always getting high throughput. You don't have to worry about different keys, and you don't have to worry about providers going down because we fall back. If one of the providers goes down, we route you to a different provider like Bedrock or Vertex or any of these other ones where models are available, or Azure, right? And we do that intelligently, so you don't have to worry about it, which is something that customers have really liked about the gateway as well. So those are the couple of ways that I just showed you. There's a bunch of other ways you can use it, right? If you're an N8 end user, you can go into the OpenAI node and just add the API key because and use our OpenAI compat endpoint, and it should just work there too. And if you're using it in Python, we have a bunch of ways to show that as well. So plenty of ways to use it. The simplicity remains, and the guarantee from Vercel in terms of high throughput and good developer experience and solid infrastructure also remains. So that's that's about the demos. Walter, do you want to show your?
Yeah. Also, I'd throw out OpenCode recently added Vercel AI Gateway there as well. I know a bunch of folks have really enjoyed that integration. I have kind of like a fun, in the world of vibe coding, Vercel has these demo days, and so it wouldn't be a demo day without something that used V0. And so what we have here is I called it Galaxy Brain Hacker News. And so this demos AI Gateway. And so what this does, what you'll see in a second, we grab the latest hacker news stories. We randomly pick one. We query a batch of models. This is using OIDC, like I said, so there's no API key. And then we show some stats. So let's take a look. What do we have? So up in the top, you can see this is the hacker news story, writing memory efficient C struct, something that we all do for fun and sometimes profit. I would say Harpreet does this on the side, but he can talk about that at the end. And so what's happening here is we basically spun off in sequence, queries to a range of models, and let's see what they say. And since we're all nerds here, we have stats. You have to have stats at the bottom. So we have time to first token and tokens per second. Just in terms of from the perspective of this app, also you can. Let's see. I think there's hotkeys. You can hit C or S, and you can sort of restack and reshuffle these things. You can iterate through them. I believe this is using Framer. And you're like, you know what? I've learned everything there is to learn about this article. Reload. Now we've got hexatetrahedral rails, another popular topic. I'll read more about this later. But again, there's actually zero API keys here. It's just OIDC. The auth is magic. You deploy the thing, and you can query all of these models. DeepSeek R1 is currently reasoning. My vibe coding session did not include displaying the reasoning tokens, but yours could. And then here we have an evil command A with an icon that could be familiar to some of you. Maybe I'll pause there. Galaxy Brain, information for all.
Just imagine all the models playing Risk together. Wouldn't that be amazing?
It seems the Llama 4 Scout concluded that the prior models had all digested and analyzed as much as was necessary. In the space of LM Arena and things of this nature, and AI Gateway makes it super easy, trivial. You change a string. Thanks.
Cool. I think we're ready for questions, Pauline and Jacob.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. So we actually have a question in the chat. So I'll kick off our questions here. On rate limits, is there a way to set parameters for when you want to switch models before it hits rate limits?
It's a good question. I think it's a good feature request. I don't know that we have anything exactly like that today. I'd be interested to hear more sort of what is it that you would want to do and why. I guess the spirit of AI Gateway today is you shouldn't really ever hit rate limits. Right. And so maybe that problem sort of goes away. But part of the reason I can imagine maybe you're like, well, sometimes I might want to use a different model in certain circumstances, could be another thing. Love to hear more.
Yeah, well, they did have a second part of that question. So also, is there a way to trigger querying your own database versus using an external model in predefined circumstances? For example, if you built a question answer chatbot for your website, can you have the Vercel AI Gateway query your own question and answer database instead of a language model if it's a common question you've already documented?
Yeah, I think the spirit of this is sort of like tools, right? And maybe even MCP servers, which AI SDK makes really easy to use because they can be used as just another tool. And so, there are guides if you go to the AI SDK site on creating agentic workflows and using MCP tools and things of this nature. And AI Gateway kind of fits in with that. So AI Gateway is how you would interact with the models. and tools and MCP servers are how you would, expose and give to the LLM a way to say, hey, in these circumstances, I want to interact with my database.
Gotcha. Thank you. That was Gabby in the chat. So if you have any more follow-up questions, share them with us in the chat. Jacob, do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, sure. So I saw when you were choosing the model, it was just a string on the list there. How do we find what models are available? Like if I'm building for different features I'm building, how do I know which model to use or which models I can choose from?
So when you go into, I don't know if I should screen share again, but let me share my screen.
Yeah, feel free to.
We should show in the UI also where you can copy the strings, because there are a few affordances that today are a little bit hidden.
Yeah, so if you're in the overview, right, and you go to the model list, you can browse through all the models that we have. And if you're looking for any particular one, Kimi, like that should just pop up. And you can also see that it's available on a bunch of different providers, right? And that's the fallback that we talk about.
So hang on while you're still here. Before you click into a model, if you hover over Qwen 3 3.2v, to the right, you'll see you get the copy button, right? We hid that. Perhaps it shouldn't be so hidden, but it is today. If you click that, it will copy the string that you can paste into your code. If you click into the model detail page from here now, the string is the same string you see here, model:string. So this is another place to see it. And then we actually have a copy button at the top under the model name. And this one we did not hide. If you go all the way to the top near the all models, top left. That right there is another place you can copy it. And then the final thing I'll show just while we're here, if you scroll down to providers, there's copy buttons here, and this copy button is actually copying the provider name. And this is there, and there's a link at the top of the provider section here to documentation on provider options. There is a provider option that lets you control which provider or providers you want to use for the model. And you can have lots of reasons to do this. You're like, I'm a big fan of Amazon Bedrock, or I want really high throughput. I want a fast one. I've heard that Grok has the fastest, and I'm okay that maybe it costs a little bit more. And so you can specify your provider order. You would do that in a little array, and you would, and so that you need the string Grok. And so here we're just making it easy. You can click the copy button next to Grok, and you will copy the provider string for Grok, and you can paste that into your provider options order.
Yeah, or Cerebras or Deep Infra, depending on what you're looking for. Right? Yeah.
So that's it. And then we will be adding more of this surfacing, like what are the models? I just want to see the IDs. We're adding that to the docs site. But today this is the primary place. It is this model list in the AI Gateway tab.
Yeah. But it will become public as well pretty soon. So watch out for that. Not watch out sounds bad. Look out for that sounds better.
Keep an eye out. In a good way.
Watch out in a great way. Jacob, is there anything else you want to follow up there?
Yeah. So you mentioned that, say, Grok was really fast as a provider there. Is there anywhere on here I can see, so if I'm looking for a really fast model, is there any way I can try and narrow down? So maybe for some, if I've got a chat bot, I want to do a lot of reasoning, or I'm just writing a title. Is there a way to figure out what model to use?
Excellent question. Very, very true to our spirit. You saw even Galaxy Brain sort of shows you sort of the performance characteristics. We don't have something today, but we are working on it here.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're at it. Yeah, for sure.
I guess a follow up to that, I guess you may have touched on it already, is Chris in the chat has asked, what is your fave model that is the right balance between cost to performance?
Interesting. I mean, I think it really varies widely by use case. I know that, some of the latest llamas people really love. I think it's a go-to one. Particularly Grok has a really great, Llama 3, very fast. And, it's sort of a little bit like Swiss Army knife. I think, Kimi K2, there's a lot of enthusiasm there, and Grok has a really nice one there as well. Heavier maybe in CodeGen. All of the clouds are very popular. So I mean, it's hard to give a more specific answer without knowing what kinds of things you're doing. Yeah, if that's helpful.
Yeah, feel free to drop any more context there, Chris.
Does this cost any differently versus using the providers directly? Does AI Gateway have any sort of markup here?
Yeah, so we're doing it at the same price as the upstream APIs. So you get the benefit of reliability, not having to switch keys, but at the same cost, right? So you're essentially on a pay-as-you-go model while getting the amazing throughput that Vercel gets you.
Okay, so it's the same cost as using the other providers, but all the billing comes through Vercel then.
Correct.
Instead. Okay.
Oh, that was my next question. Actually, that's great. Chris also asked, how do we keep up with the capabilities of AI SDK, as it's always changing and evolving?
Yeah.
Great question.
I think, I mean, I'd be curious, what, how to keep up. The team and Vercel were all super active on X. And so I think that's really, the best place. I think Vercel changelog, we're starting to share more about what AI Gateway is doing there. AI SDK has its own X account, very active there. The GitHub issues for AI SDK, people file feature requests, is the go-to place we point everyone to if you have questions or concerns. There is a Vercel community site. Pauline, maybe you can talk a little more about that.
I was just about to say that.
Yes. Yeah, we but the Gateway team, we see and interact with feedback around that, as well. I mean, the reason that I think, we and all of you are excited about space is in large part, I think, the speed with which it moves. And so we recognize there's challenges that come with that, right? Like SDK v5, in my opinion, one of its key breakthroughs is sort of like typed tools, all the way through to the client, right? And already, even early, even still just in beta, there's like sort of people who experience it are like taken aback by the positive change it has in their dev cycle. But there are things that aren't perfect yet. Caching, for example, isn't fully standardized across different providers, and they do it different ways, and they charge different ways, and that's a pain point for lots of folks. And so when and how do we standardize? I think we figure out how to prioritize that stuff, in large part by feedback from all of you. And so, I would say, please engage with us in those areas. And it's very early days for Gateway, but, already we see and hear from folks that they love the power, the flexibility, the removal of like hurdles that caused pain without value. And so, there's so much we could do, and we would love to know from you all what's most valuable to you, so we can spend our time in the best places.
Fantastic answer. I would also add, we have eyes everywhere, so we will definitely find that feedback. Amazing.
On the observability front, what sort of granular observability do we have in AI Gateway? Like, could I see usage data per model if one of my models is throwing a lot of errors or costing a lot of tokens? Am I able to surface that information anywhere and maybe decide to swap that one out for a different model?
Right now, you can see, again, actually, I should have just like never stopped screen sharing. Awesome for the future. Asking all the good questions, Jacob. So you have like extremely granular information, right? Like from individual queries and how much it costs to the input tokens, output tokens, the duration. You have metrics like the time to first byte, time to first token, the number of requests, as well as the number of tokens. And you can categorize that by model, as well as you can go into specific projects. So again, I should have had a better.
Yeah, I think you had, if you showed all environments, you had a mini view. So, but what you didn't do is if you click into the API key, you will see the models. And so here you can see what Harpreet was talking about. So you have throughput in tokens per second. You have time to first token. The cost here is 0 because in this account, he's a free user. And so it didn't cost him anything. When you switch to paid user, you would actually see your cost. There's a chart up at the top that shows sort of an overview request by model. And we have so much more data here, and there's a lot more that we would love to do here. And the question is, like I said earlier, sort of what's most useful for you all. But this gives you a breakdown, by project, by model, by API key if you use them. And in Vercel style for the project view, you have environments, so you can break out production versus preview versus development separately.
Couple of important points to call out when you go, if you do use API keys, you don't see anything because it defaults to production, so you always have to click all environments. And so a lot of people have said, oh, I don't see anything. It's because of that. The other part that Walter mentioned, my cost is zero because I'm a free user. Well, that's the great part. You can try Vercel AI Gateway with any Hobby, Pro, Enterprise account for free. And you can try all the models, right? You get $5 of credits per month to just try it out. We don't restrict the good models from you. We want you to experience the true power of Vercel AI Gateway. So please give it a shot.
On a similar kind of question, how detailed are log exports? Can we programmatically get logs for audit or usage reporting?
Yeah, good
Or
question.
is that not available yet?
Yeah, I think, a couple of comments. I don't know that we explicitly have the thing that's being asked for, but I'll talk about what we do have. So one of the reasons, I think there are many reasons people love the AI SDK, but one is there's a lot of work that's been put into sort of like capturing all of the detail, both when things go well and when there are errors from the models, and making sure that nothing is lossy, right? So like, there are AI SDK errors, and they always try to capture all of the detail and the underlying cause and so forth. And the gateway similarly, has tried to kind of capture and present that information. And AI SDK supports, you can sort of have, there are a lot of community providers and integrations with lots of other people, products in the AI space. There's Brain Trust, there's Langfuse, and these folks have providers they've updated for V5, either already out or coming soon. And so there's facilities for wrapping models. And ASDK has you can look at the docs, and there's a discussion on wrapping models. This is used, when reasoning models first came out. There's sort of support for middleware where you can capture, and now we have one that makes it easy to do this. But there's a general purpose middleware where you can capture anything that flows through and tweak it, and so that might be another way to kind of capture insight that you might want. But again, offline, I would love to hear more. What is the data that you would want? Where would you want it to go? What would you want to do with it?
And the best place for that is in our community. So feel free to drop that feedback.
So another question, when when providers are down, you've mentioned that it falls back to other providers. Is that ever going to change the model I have selected? So say if I've selected Claude 4 Sonnet, is that ever going to fall back to a different model, or am I guaranteed that model just on a different provider?
Right. Today, you are guaranteed that model on a different provider. And would be interested to hear the use cases, feature requests where folks might have circumstances where they would want it to have a fallback. I could imagine you might say, look, I just want something that's great for coding. And here's my priority. I want Claude first. But like I would be happy to fall back to 04 Mini, for example, right? And we don't do that today. I think it's something that's really interesting. I think it could be powerful. I imagine there are use cases folks might want that. How would you want that to work? What should the code DX look like, right? How would you want to specify that? But yes, today, sort of like you choose, you could think of it as sort of a model slug, your canonical model. What is it, right? It's Anthropic, sort of creator / model. And so maybe it's meta / llama 3.3. And you will not switch model type.
Okay. If we do have, like in the instance of any fallback, do we see that in the observability dashboard? Does it just show up as if it were a request to the other provider?
The observability dashboard does not surface that today, but we do actually have it for folks who are familiar with the SDK, and there are docs on this in both Gateway and SDK site. Queries can optionally return provider metadata, and Gateway adds provider metadata on what we call routing to every response, and that includes full details. So you'll see detail of the attempts that were made, which providers were interacted with, what the results were. If you're using bring your own key, you can see was bring your own key used. We emit actually the cost, sort of what did we debit your account if you're a paid user from a credits perspective.
Yeah, like
so
here, for example, I only had token usage, right? But you could choose to emit a bunch of more stuff that Walter was talking about, and it would just pop up with the response. So it's not in the observability, but you have access to all that data.
Yeah.
Great. Next question is, what are the current limits in the beta and how will you scale at GA?
Curious to know what people are referring to as the limits. Is it limits by cost, limits by throughput, models? Would love to know what are the limits.
Let's start with costs, because I feel like that is a common question.
Yeah, well, right now it's gonna, we're gonna have the free tier as we do, and at GA also it's gonna be the same. You will pay this price, so nothing is changing in terms of your billing experience. So that's gonna remain consistent. Our infrastructure is stable now and will be stable later as well. There's a few feature requests that we're adding between now and GA, and those are probably going to be the difference. But the throughput, we're going to continue to give you the high throughput that we have, right? We, as Vercel, use a lot of AI. We have our own AI products. As a result of that, we have the experience and the high throughputs from upstream providers. So you can only imagine it getting better with each passing week.
Great, thank you.
So we're coming up a bit on time here. So I guess my last question is, what features are planned next? What's coming up next in the AI Gateway?
Generally, more observability. It's gonna more models, right? Faster responses, more integration with AI. As the AI SDK, the underlying library, adds more abstractions and features, AI Gateway will follow, and then just a better like more integrations, right? Like Anthropic compat. Like we have OpenAI compat, for example, but we'll have Anthropic compat, so you can use it in Claude Code if you want. We just want to make it easy for you to use AI Gateway wherever you want to, right? And as we like to say internally, it's one key to rule them all.
Love
favorite byline. I'm hoping we can get that on a site at some point. So
get it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Needed.
Baseball cap. I would wear that hat.
Totally. Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for your time and sharing this with the community. Is there anything else you'd like to share as like closing thoughts?
No, I think I'm really excited about sort of just the ease with which folks can sort of try the power of a really wide range of models. It's really difficult to do that without something like this. And I'm at Vercel because I really love the speed with which developers can achieve things. And I look at what Gateway is already doing, and I feel like it's streamlined a lot of that. And I love that that there are a bunch of folks that already use and love Vercel that can sort of kick the tires and try this and tell us how to make it better. That's why we're here. So thanks.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you both so much. And we will definitely see you around the community. Jacob, that was an amazing session, right?
That was so good. I'm very excited to start using this and finally shutting down all my accounts with all the other dozen model providers that I've set up and added credits to, and they're just sitting there dormant now because I can't remember which ones I've all been using. But I just want to get that all consolidated so I can just plug it into any app I use.
Anything you'd like to share? Any fun projects that you could start using the AI Gateway with?
I feel like building a clone of V0 seems like the fun thing to do right now. Everyone else is doing it. So.
Why not?
Why
Amazing.
not?
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all of your comments and feedback and questions. This has been super fun. So we have a lot of fun community sessions coming up over the next couple of weeks. Feel free to check out the whole list. If you head over to community.vercel.com/events, you should be able to see them all there. And yeah, anything else you'd like to share, Jacob, before we close off?
No, I think that's all. Come visit us for our next events. And until then, we'll see you in the community.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone.